Hello, and thanks for joining me for Dr. Larry's Quick Tip number 1. And with no further ado, let us move on here and get into why it's important to sit up straight. Okay, right here what we see is it's actually a hyperlordotic lumbar spine, but it serves as a good exaggerated example of what we're looking for. We want a curve like this in the lumbar spine, and that's kind of hard to do when you're sitting slouched and such. Okay, and a big part of all of this, if it starts out well, then you're going to have a good backward curve coming up through the thoracics, and then you'll have a good forward curve coming through the cervicals, and that's what we're looking for a number of reasons, but I'm going to focus on the discs today. Okay, so come over here and we look at the hamstrings. These are the hamstrings, okay? Now, if these are tight, what they're going to do is they're going to pull downward, okay? They're going to pull downward, and they're going to rock this pelvis around backwards like this. It's just going to rock it around backward this way, which means it'll undo this lumbar curve and bring that back as well and straighten that, okay? And that's a real big problem. That's a very big problem for people with disc problems in the low back. Okay, so I'm going to try to make this quick, and so let's move on to the next screen here. And this comes from a website called posturepress.com. And I'm not going to go through this whole thing, okay, but here's another example of somebody facing to the left, and they've got a good lumbar curve here, and then it comes back for the thoracics and goes forward through the cervicals. Now, this person here is a chiropractor that wrote this website because he's a specialist in ergonomics, okay? And anyway, let's move on down here. A couple things I wanted to go through. This is how you should sit, okay? Now, I know that it's something that your school teacher and your mom has told you forever, and it seems really square to do, I guess. But they're right, and they were right for a lot of reasons that they probably don't know. But in any case, they were right. Soft couches, those are a problem, okay? And we'll be talking about that in a future tip. Okay, now this fella here, you see what's going on here, okay? He's slouching, that's bad, okay? And now he's sitting up straight. And so over here, basically what he's trying to say, the author of this website is trying to say, is proper sitting requires that you constantly monitor the correct positions of your head, shoulders, arms, and back. Well, he's saying that's false, okay? Because he brings it down to one simple thought, okay? If you pay attention to your rib cage, okay, and if all you do is keep track of the position of your rib cage, then everything else will fall in place, okay? And that's really good advice. Another simple way that does the same thing is remembering to keep your shoulder blades together, okay? And it's more important to do this as you get older. And if you start doing that all of a sudden, you could experience some soreness and such, and it could take 2 months or more to have your spine transition into that new position and not bother you. Seeing a chiropractor during that transitional period would be advantageous because he helps keep things mobile and kind of helps that process along, okay? And we take a look at this person's lumbar spine here, and you see there's no forward curve there. Okay, no forward curve. It's straight, if not going backward. Now, why is that so bad? Why do I talk about that so much? Okay, this is why. Okay, because it can lead to or aggravate a disc bulge. Okay, and basically this is a picture of a disc. Okay, a cross section, and you see in the center there's a gelatinous type material. It's called the nucleus pulposa, and it can start bursting through these are tougher outer layers here, okay, but it can burst through those and keep pushing until it eventually starts impinging upon a nerve. Now it only takes the weight of a dime to a weight of a dime can cause, you know, intense pain if it's on the right nerve in the right spot, okay, and it can certainly cause nerve disruption even if there are no pain fibers. But anyway, this is what we're trying to prevent, okay? And they can bulge backward to the left. They usually go to the left or they go to the right. Sometimes it's central, and if it's central, you'll get symptoms down both limbs, both legs. Something like this right here would be causing problems down the person's left leg, okay? So let's go on to the next one here. Now this shows a side view, and it's a very excellent representation of what these disc bulges look like. And so this right here was here's what they're saying, it's a herniation, okay? So it actually burst through those outer layers of the disc and went towards a spinal cord, and you see this huge depression in here where it just pushed outward into there, okay? Now a couple of things to notice here is that there are multiple levels of disc bulges, one here, of course this one here, and this one here, okay? And we see a certain amount of degeneration. Look at how choppy and rough this is, okay? Another thing that that you probably have not noticed is that there is no curve here, okay? This is a very straight lumbar spine. If it had a good curve, I'm going to exaggerate it. Oh, I'm going to exaggerate and kind of move my mouse around this way. If it had a curve like this, sorry if it's not too smooth the way I'm doing this. If it had a curve like that, then these spaces in the posterior part, this person is facing left, by the way, okay, and this is their tailbone down here, okay. This right here is the belt line, okay. This is typically the area people have disc problems in the low back, okay. So what happens is if you have a straight spine, you see that these spaces are all open here in the back, and if you had a deeper curve, then the spaces would be open more in the front and be wedged more closely, tighter together in the back, and that helps to prevent this disc bulging that we see. Now let's take another look here of some lumbar flexion and extension views. Once again, this is somebody that's facing to the left, and in the left section here, they're bending over, like touching their toes, okay, and the spine has become straightened, okay, and you see how wide these disc spaces are in the back, okay, when it's straightened out like that, okay. Now we come over here to the right, and we see that they're bending backwards, okay, and we see what happens to the posterior portion of these vertebrae here, here, here. They get tighter, okay, and they're open in the front. Here, it's open in the front, tighter in the back. Look at this, how open it is in the front and tighter in the back. Well, you know what? A disc can bulge out to the front as much as it likes, and it will never cause anything like the problems it does when it goes backwards. Okay? And there's a good chance you would never even know it if it were bulging out towards the front. So that's why this is important. You got to keep this lumbar curve there, and if you're sitting like this all the time, okay, then that's just going to encourage that disc bulging to go posterior, and eventually it's going to give you problems. And if you already do have problems that bad, that's you know, it's worse. Now the only way to make this worse, you see this hamstring down here? Look at this hamstring here, okay? The only way to make this worse is to take these feet and swing them up and put them on top of a coffee table or an ottoman, okay? If you do that, then you're doing something, and you have low back problems, then you're basically sabotaging yourself no matter what you're doing as far as exercising, therapeutic exercise, seeing a chiropractor, whatever you're doing, and you have low back problems, you're going to be undoing it by propping those feet up on top of something, because it when you pull those feet around up on top of something, it stretches these hamstrings. And when it does that, it grabs this back of the pelvis and it rocks that baby down, and it opens up these spaces even more, especially the bottom one where like 90% of all disc surgeries take place. So I want to keep this short and sweet. I don't want to, drag this out any further, but I think I made my point. I think you learned something about discs, and if that's the case, then I guess I did my job. So we are over and out. Thanks for watching.